At Dakshineswar, we, that is, the Holy Mother and I, used to live in the Nahabat, a small concert tower at the temple garden. When the master wished to indicate to his visitors about the mother, he would make a circle with his finger at the tip of the nose. This was because the mother wore a nose ring. He used to refer to the Nahabat as a cage, and to us as Shuksari, or two birds in Indian folklore, who were adept in talking about Krishna's glories. When fruits and sweets that had been offered to the Divine Mother were brought to the Master, he would remind Brother Ramlal, "Don't forget that there are two birds in that cage. Give them some fruits and peas." Newcomers would take the Master's words literally. Even Master Mahasaya, that is, the recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, did so at first. Village women would come to visit the mother, and sometimes the Master would overhear their conversation. Once he said to the mother, "These women come and stroll by the goose pond. Seeing me, they talk amongst themselves, and I hear what they are saying. They say, 'This man is good, but one thing is strange. He does not sleep with his wife at night.' Please don't pay any heed to their talk. They are worldly women. They may teach you how to divert my mind towards the world through tricks or medicine. Please don't follow their advice. I have given myself completely to God." The mother was embarrassed and reassured the Master, saying, "Oh, no, I won't pay any attention to them." How we managed in that tiny room of the Nahabat, I sometimes wonder. It was the Master's divine play. Usually it was shared by Holy Mother, another girl, and myself, Lakshmi. Sometimes Gopala Ma, who was a large woman, or other women devotees from Calcutta, would stay with us. Moreover, we had to store our groceries, cooking vessels, dishes, and even the water jar in that room. Since the Master had a weak stomach, we also had to store the food for his special diet. The Master did not sleep much at night. When it was still dark outside, he would move around the temple garden, and while passing near the Nahabat, he would call, oh Lakshmi, get up. Ask your aunt to get up also. How long will you sleep? It is almost dawn. The crows and cuckoos are about to sing. Chant the name of the Divine Mother." Sometimes in winter, when the Master would call me, Mother, while lying under her quilt, would whisper to me, "Keep quiet. He has no sleep in his eyes. It is not the right time to get up, and the birds have not yet started singing. Don't respond." But if the Master did not get any response, he would pour water under the door sill. And since we slept on the floor, we had to get up without delay. Even so, sometimes our beds got wet. The Master lost some hair from the front of his head because of excessive heat in his body, and some of his hair and beard turned gray. He did not care to live long, to be an old man. He would say, "I don't want to hear people saying that there is an old monk in Rasmani's temple garden." And the mother replied, "Don't say that. You are not old. Do you think you are old enough to leave this world? Moreover, if you live here as an old monk, People will say, a wise monk lives in Rasmani's Kali temple. And the master replied, Pooh, who is going to call me a wise monk? Anyhow, I can't bear it if anybody calls me old fellow. After a short period of marriage, I became a widow and went back to my father's home. I was then a beautiful young girl. One day the master told me, do your duties and practice religion at home. Do not travel to the holy places by yourself. Who knows who might harm you? Live with your aunt. Life in the world is not safe. When the master was in his village, every evening he sat by the door of his parental home, watching the people as they passed along the street. All the women had to go that way to bring water from the tank. They would come with their jugs, and seeing him at the door, they would sit down in the little yard in front, with their water jugs beside them, and forget everything in the joy of hearing him talk or sing of God. Fearing lest they might be neglecting their duties, he asked about them. One girl said, I have a cow. When I heard that you were coming, I cut straw enough to last a month and filled my room with it. To another he said, How is your baby? And she exclaimed, Oh, I forgot. I left it with a neighbor. She had walked more than a mile to come and see him. One day the master said to the women, Now, today you must sing, and I will listen. They all remained silent. Not one dared utter a sound. But there was one girl whom the master loved very much, so much that whenever she did not come, he would send for her. As soon as she saw that no one else would sing, she sang a song in a weak, high-pitched, quavering voice. All the other girls began to laugh at her, but when she had finished, the master was delighted and said, See how great is her devotion. Just because I asked her, she has sung so frankly and simply. She alone among you has true devotion. The master could not stand to see women who were shameless and wanton. He said to the mother, Don't be like them. They have one leg under a bel tree and the other under a banyan tree. Their behavior is shameless. Women must be unassuming. Modesty is the ornament of women. Chinu Shankari, who was well known in Kamarkapur, was a boyhood friend of the master. He was a devout Vaishnava and had acquired some supernatural powers through spiritual discipline. Holding the master, he would say, Gadai, when I see you, I think of Gauranga. Some of our Kamarkapur neighbors went to Dakshineswar for a holy bath in the Ganges, and they told the master a story about Chinu's supernatural powers. They said that one day some guests came to Chinu's house and asked for food, expressing a desire to eat a sour preparation of fish with mango. Since it was not the season for mangoes, Chinu was very worried and prayed to the Lord that he might be able to fulfill the desire of his guests. At the last moment, unexpectedly and inexplicably, he obtained some mangoes and fed his guests with great joy. The master listened to the story, and when he went to Kamarkapur, he said to Chinu, Shame, shame, fie on your supernatural powers. Do not use them again. People will exploit you and disturb your spiritual life. Please don't pay any heed to those powers. Otherwise, your mind will fall to a lower state. The Master never visited Puri. One day, Balaram Babu brought some prasad of Lord Jagannath. The Master touched it with his head and saluted the Lord. He was then in an ecstatic mood. After a while, he said, "I went to the place of Jagannath. There everything is great and vast, the vast ocean and long wide roads. If this body goes there, it will not come back." When I was at Dakshineswar with the mother, she told me that the Master had written a mantram on her tongue, and she suggested that I ask him to do the same for me. And I told her, I am too shy to ask him. There are so many visitors in his room. Then another day I went to salute the Master. I didn't say anything, but he asked me of his own accord, "What deity do you love most?" Delighted at his question, I replied, "Radha Krishna." He then wrote the mantram on my tongue. I had a rosary of tulsi beads around my neck, which Sister Prasanna of Kamarkapur's Laha family had given me, with the comment that they were very becoming to me. Sometime earlier, the mother and I had received some instructions about the worship of the Divine Mother from an old monk whose name was Swami Purnaanda. He was a very handsome person, very calm and quiet. When the mother told the Master about it, he said, "It is all right. I have given the right mantram to Lakshmi." While I was in Dakshineswar, I would sometimes remember Mother Shitala, who is another form of the Divine Mother and one of our family deities. At that time, if sweets were presented to the Master, he would say, "Feed these sweets to Lakshmi. It will be a grand offering to Mother Shitala, because Lakshmi is part of her." Once he asked Girish Babu to do this. Whenever there was a kirtan in his room, the Master would ask Brother Ramlal to open the door facing the Nahabat and would say, "A current of devotion and bliss will flow here. If they do not see or hear, how will they learn?" The mother used to watch through a tiny hole in the bamboo screen, and that made her happy. Sometimes the Master would comment with a laugh, "Oh, Ramlal, the opening in your aunt's screen is getting bigger and bigger." The Master used to tell the mother and me stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, such as the story of King Nala, and he would then question us to see if we had understood them. The Master would also make me repeat them, and afterwards he would remark with satisfaction, "That is why I call you a shuck, a parrot." The Master always encouraged us to practice spiritual disciplines. He would tell us, "Pray unceasingly. Be sincere. Don't show your spiritual discipline to others. If the character is not good, what good will jopam do? Young women should be very careful. Be pure. The trees suck water from the earth through their roots, unperceived. Likewise, some people show a religious nature outwardly, but secretly enjoy lustful things. So don't be a hypocrite." One time the Master said to me, "If you cannot remember God, think of me. That will do." As I mentioned, all through his life, the master had stomach trouble. When Grandma, that is Sri Ramakrishna's mother, was living in Dakshineswar, the master would salute her every morning. Grandma was a very large woman and very beautiful, but she was also old-fashioned and very shy. Even before her youngest son, Sri Ramakrishna, she would cover her face with a veil. When he came, she would ask him, "How is your stomach?" And the master would reply, "Not very good." And Grandma would then advise, "Don't take the prasad of Mother Kali, because the food is too spicy. As long as your stomach is not all right, your wife will cook plain soup and rice for you. Please eat only that." Sometimes the master would get tired of eating invalids' food every day and would ask his mother to cook 1 or 2 dishes and season them as she used to do in Kamarkapur. So occasionally Grandma cooked for him, and the master enjoyed it. The master used to encourage women to cook, saying, "It is a good occupation for the mind." Sita was a good cook, and so were Draupadi and Parvati. Mother Lakshmi would herself cook and feed others. After the death of her 2 older sons, Grandma became somewhat passive and withdrawn. Furthermore, she would not take her lunch until she had heard the noon whistle of the Alama Bazar jute mill. As soon as it sounded, she would exclaim, "Oh, there is the whistle of heaven. That is the signal for offering food to Lakshmi and Narayan." A problem would arise on Sundays, however, when the jute mill was closed. No whistle was blown at noon, and consequently she would not eat. This worried the master very much, and he would lament, "Oh dear, my old mother will refuse her food today, and she will be weak." Brother Hriday, that is Sri Ramakrishna's nephew, would say to the master, "Don't be anxious, uncle. When Grandma is hungry, she will eat of her own accord." But the master would reply, "Oh no, I am her son. It is my duty to look after my old mother." With much coaxing, the master would persuade his mother to eat the prasad of Krishna. One day, Brother Hriday made a high-pitched sound by blowing through a pipe. He then said to Grandma, "There, Grandma, did you hear the whistle of heaven? Now please eat your food." But Grandma laughed and said, "Oh no, you made the sound with your pipe." And everyone laughed. When Grandma passed away, the master wept. The mother used to carry the master's meals to his room. Pointing to her, sometimes the master would say in a joking manner, "Luckily I have the shade of this tree. Otherwise, who would prepare food for me? Such a man who cannot manage his own cloth, and he has married." One day I went with the mother to carry the master his food. Rakal and others were with him immediately left the room, leaving us alone there. The master was lying on his bed in samadhi, but he looked so devoid of life that the mother, having long been anxious for his health, began to weep, thinking he had left the body. Then she remembered that he had once said to her that if she ever found him in this state, she was to just touch his feet, and that it would bring him back. So she began to rub his feet. Rakal and the others, hearing the weeping, hurried back into the room, and they too began to rub him vigorously. This brought the master back to consciousness, and upon opening his eyes, he asked with surprise what the matter was. Then, realizing their fears, he smiled and said, "I was in the land of the white people. Their skin is white, their hearts are white, and they are simple and sincere. It is a very beautiful country. I think I shall go there." But the mother replied, "But you will get very hungry if you go there." She was with anxious solicitude. Then the master struck his head with his hand 2 or 3 times and said to the mother, "Oh, you are so foolish. You do not know anything.